Welcome to another episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. This is episode 268, and today we have Randy Snyder, and you're coming in from the Front Range out here in Colorado. And what city are you in?
We're in Westminster.
Okay, so north suburb of Denver, right?
Yeah, northwest. Yep.
Right on. And Luke, where are we coming in from today?
Grand Junction, Colorado.
Yeah.
So Colorado strong. We're in the Mile High State, and
Exactly.
we're gonna rock this interview today with our good friend Randy. So Dr. Randy, I love this segment of our interview. The first question is your chiropractic story and what influenced you to become a chiropractor. And I'm sure a lot of people that are close to you know the story, but I don't know the story. And I'm sure all of our amazing listeners and viewers will be interested to know, who is Randy Snyder and why the heck are you a chiropractor today?
So I was an elite athlete and I never had chiropractic care. I had some physical therapy done. I had a lot of athletic trainers working on me. And I actually got hurt pretty bad. And I actually ran into a goalpost and then ran into a goalpost in Mexico City. And so I started off some severe lower back pain and pain that went to my groin, where no guy wants to be kicked. And I literally was in and out of the doctor's offices and out of a couple hospitals, and it would go away for a while, then it would come back and go away. And there was a gentleman in Applewood, Colorado, named Larry Bridge. Now, Larry Bridge had a massive practice, and it was a cash practice back in the day. And Larry coached the soccer team, and he used to bring his players out and have them watch me train and do stuff that I did. And he literally said to me one day, "Man, you just aren't running well. Yeah, you're having problems with your hips. You're having problems with your pelvis." He started just going off. And at that time, you don't know much about chiropractic, and you're like kind of blown off that they're not real people, not real doctors kind of attitude. And literally about, 3 months into this, I was going to go to the hospital again. And I go, "Why don't we just call that chiropractor guy, because nothing's working, And he literally took some x-rays and adjusted me. And literally it was like your Delta faucet at home, and the pain just went down. By the time I stepped off the table, I didn't have the groin pain. And so we did numerous treatments and stuff, but I learned right then it was not something, with my bladder or something with my groin. It was something in my back. And I followed Larry around and did a bunch of stuff. And he literally I know of 3 different chiropractors that came out of that office. Some of you may know the back talk system king, Dr. Rob Jackson. Rob was one of Larry's patients. I was, and a guy named Joe Arve here in Denver. Joe Arve, we are all from Larry Bridge. So he not only treated a zillion patients and made people well, he kept pushing all of us off and making us go do stuff.
That's really timely, because so many times people are symptom chasing. Mm-hmm. And they don't realize that just having a well-adjusted spine and pelvis, it's going to have an impact on any, tweak or injury or something that we just don't know where to go to for. Yeah. It's like if you, obviously it's become commonplace that if you get in a car collision, you're going to go see a chiropractor and get some x-rays done just to make sure that you have no whiplash or any type of, soft tissue injuries.
Correct.
So when you don't know where to go for your health concerns, that's a scary place to be.
Mm-hmm. And I lost my spot on the team because they're like, "You're hurting," and they couldn't figure out why you were hurting. And the trainers go, "He should be able to go," and I couldn't go. Or if I did, then an hour or two later, I was rolled up in a fetal position. So chiropractic changed my life. And then as I was being treated, my mom has multiple sclerosis. Always has this film over her eyes, she would describe, and her feet burned all the time. And Dr. Bridge goes, "Let me work on you while you're here with Randy." And she started checking it out. And by the time she got home, the film was always gone. And she became a chiropractic believer, and he got her walking again. So I'm a huge fan, and I have a very diverse practice because I have all different angles to look at.
Yeah, I know that's really important when we think about like one person in a family getting care, what it can do when somebody else gets the big idea. And they start to see somebody else improving, and they're like, "I think I want that too."
Exactly. That's what it was. And she saw that I was getting better, and I'd visit her, and so she's like, "Let me go with you on one of those days." And she went with me, and the rest is history. So go from there. She's 88 years old and lives on her own, has a great life, and What else can you ask for? She's healthy and walking and doing stuff.
Well, I always like to say 88 years young, and
Exactly.
they always appreciate that too.
Hmm. But when you're a mother, you have to tease them. That's how that is. Yeah.
So I know that we like to ask people what makes them unique in the chiropractic world, and I've recently been with you in Denver, and I've seen you lecture in front of a group of chiropractors, and I know you're doing some work with the Chiropractic Business Academy, or now you guys call yourself the Business Academy.
Sure.
Can you maybe tell us a little bit about your involvement with that group and what you're up to today?
So one of the things the Business Academy does is they organize and help organize your office through systems, right? Put systems in place and learning strategies, things that really help an office, especially as you get bigger. The bigger it gets, the more disorganized it gets. You have too many things to do. So that's one of the things they do. They asked me to come in. I'm a member of theirs, and they look at how other offices, how many patients another office brings in, and they kept looking at my stats, going, "How do you get that many new patients in all the time?" And so and the lecture you were at, you were looking at me like, wow. And so they said, "Hey, would you mind teaching this to our members?" And that's what I've been teaching on, is how to customer relations, new patients, and how to bring those kind of things in from an internal standpoint, not just always external.
So, what would be some advice you'd give to another chiropractor who wants more new patients?
So all of us start off and we spend a lot of money to bring in new patients, right? But then once they're in and they're done and they leave, what are you doing to keep in front of them all the time? And so back in the day, I literally had a lady in the grocery store in our area, King Supers, and she was the Hallmark card lady. So I went up to her one day and I got all my cards at wholesale, and I would literally just go and hand write thank you cards. I'd hand write birthday cards. I'd hand out stuff that goes above and beyond what a normal office would be, right? So we go through those kind of scenarios. So hey, yeah, advertise, get yourself out in what is your comfort zone, and then push your comfort zone as well. But get out there and get marketing. But don't forget that people already came in. Stay in front of them. One of the things that Jim was laughing at, it was when somebody goes in, they have knee surgery, and they spend a year and a half. And I go, "Hey, who did your knee surgery?" And they go, "The guy over at that hospital over by the," and I go, "Okay, this guy cut you open, and you can't remember his name." One of those deals. So my process from all these years is I want to make sure I'm in front of them, they remember my name, and it's all these different systems I've put in that are staff driven to make it so that we can generate new patients. So we average about 20 new patients a week, and 84% of that's internal referral. So that's why we do what we do.
Yeah, and with the a growth like that, and with that much retention, what are you doing to, like, I know some chiropractors call it second money. They get people to re-sign for their second,
Sure.
care plan. What are you doing to get people to stick around?
So basically, someone will sign up for like a wellness plan, and they'll get themselves, so they're doing it once a month or 6 weeks or whatever their body needs. The biggest thing for us is it's relationship and relationship marketing, to where they trust what you're saying, trust what you're doing. And some offices will want somebody to come back, sign up for 20 or 30. We'll get them to sign up, or this show up every 2 or 3 months. Something where you have that many patients from that many years, where they're coming in still multiple times per year, not necessarily on a monthly basis, but as that whole thing trickles down, your numbers just stay up. So like for us, with the whole coronavirus shutdown we had in Colorado, almost a month, a little over a month actually, then we were ready to rock with all of our contacts and all of our stuff that we do through mailers to our patients, to different software things. So we were ready to go, and we have a large base because those patients trust us and they were ready to come back. So we were full. As soon as we were started to have patients, we were full.
So what are some things that you're doing for your own personal health as well as your family's health?
Besides being a chiropractor, in chiropractic college, Larry Bridge said, "Hey, there's something to this acupuncture stuff. You should look into it." So I've been doing acupuncture for 32 years, as well as adjusting. So I do a lot of acupuncture, get out and get a lot of walking or cycling done. And I'm a pretty good reader, so I like to go and read books from different areas, and that's what kind of calms me down. So I get needled, get adjusted, and just stay healthy that way.
That's really good advice. I really believe that, there was a revolution a few years back when I first started studying what chiropractic was, and it was the Eat Well, Think Well, Move Well by Chestnut.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that just made so much sense to me. And, with this whole Corona environment,
Yeah.
I was just like, well, they don't really tell people to drink more water and to exercise and to take supplements and to live on a natural level. And that's almost like uh, cult. It's like a cult. I don't know. It's like a cult thing now. Like you can't tell people to be healthy.
Yeah, exactly. It's people believe only one area sometimes of what they're being told. And it was interesting, during the middle of the coronavirus stuff, they came out and they said, hey, zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D3, all these things seem to have stuff going on. And literally that was when we closed down in March of last year. That's the first Facebook thing I put out, is make sure you're taking all these things. It's been on my website since day one. But you have to think most family practitioners don't get a lot of nutritional and vitamin training. Chiropractors get way more. So that's why we have more interest in it, and we kind of tell people what to do more naturally. So it's a good thing that way.
Yeah. And, I was just I was on a walk right before our interview. I was listening to Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan. And Chappelle's like, dude, I was like down with like Corona for like 10 days, but he's like, you told me to get on this D3, this zinc, and this Corsacrine or whatever the heck it is. And he's like, I took that, and he's like, I was back like in no time. And I think that's just it, is like, I think the greatest thing to be aware of is just following these healthy habits and trusting somebody that's interested in your longevity and your health. And, I think that that's something really important about chiropractic. So I really commend you for what you're doing.
I appreciate that. So Jeff and Luke, Jim and Luke, the whole thing with how this works is when you look at somebody and, it used to be the food triangle. Now that's the plate thing, Jim, right? It's like, eat all these things. Then you look at most of America and they skip lunch, or it's a fast food lunch, or they only have a bar or something like that for breakfast, or a muffin or whatever, right? And they go on and do their stuff, and you go, okay, what of all those groups did you do? And they didn't do well, right? And so you look at it and go, okay, if you're not doing well, you need to supplement. And the standard issue from the other side is like, well, if you eat right, you don't need to do vitamins. But most people don't eat right. That's the whole scenario. So if they were eating right, great, but they need to do some supplementation. And I'm a big greens guy, like those green drinks and stuff, has a lot of vitamins and stuff in it, because I am a fruit and meat kind of guy. I'm not a veggie kind of guy, Jim. And so I do it by just, a couple of scoops, and I take it. So I get, 12 servings a day by a scoop, but I'm trying to make sure my health is good that way. So that's why I try to encourage my patients. If you're not doing the food groups and not doing the stuff that's healthy, then you need to supplement and do other things to help you out.
Amen.
Yeah.
So speaking of staying connected with your patients, what are some of your favorite ways to stay connected to your patients in your local community?
I do a lot of charity lectures. I do things where I go out and I do health lectures, and I don't actually push coming to the office. I actually do it as a charity scenario, and you'd be surprised how many people come in because you're not selling, you're not doing something that's pushing them. It's just an informative scenario, and we do a lot of personalized cards here. One of our staff members goes to the dollar store, gets all the thank you cards and sympathy cards and whatever else, congratulations, and we do stuff where when the patient's in our office, if something's happened, like a divorce or a death or whatever, even from their dog or whatever, they're going to get a card from our office. We have it systematized. There's a handwritten card that goes to them. And they come back and they go, that was so nice. Their dog passed away. Nobody sends a card, or their medical doctor. Nobody sends something to keep in touch. And we do that all the time. So I have about 7, 8 different things we do. But part of that's just staying in front of them and being close and being caring about them. That's the biggest thing. It's not just a patient's going through, you're really busy that day. It's about learning something about them and sticking with them and asking them questions as you're treating them, kind of your table talk. And that makes a huge difference for patients when they are connected and not a number.
Well, I've always told people, it's important to be known liked and trusted. But I think that there's a new up level to that, is to become known, loved, and trusted. And there's
True.
no greater way than to get in touch with people than to go old school and get in their mailbox.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't tell you how many times it will impact somebody when they get either mailbox money or a nice
Yeah.
card. Like,
Yeah.
if you're sending me two things, I don't want anything else in my mailbox other than money, a check, or a
Yeah.
nice card,
Nice card. Yeah.
Or both
Oh, yeah.
together.
or put
Or
them
both, yeah.
together.
Yeah, birthday card with a 20 stuck in, right? Like grandma used to do. All those things, right? You have to love that stuff. But it's all about it's all about customer relations. And like I try to tell people, spend all you want on your external advertising, whatever you think is the right thing for you. But then you need to nurture that on the backside instead of just fade out. You want to keep in front of them all the time.
And I know this was something that we talked about too with your career in soccer.
Yeah.
You do a lot of support with your local soccer club too. Do you want to maybe talk about that?
Yeah, so so I took on a 2-year gig that lasted 15 years as a club president. And we took a club that was struggling, and we used just business principles and stuff that we know, and that same kind of marketing we just talked about. And we built that club up to where it's very profitable and it's doing great. So now I'm a vice president of it. I'm still actively involved. So this weekend is going to be Memorial Weekend for us here, and so for like 16 years now, we have a stereo speaker set out, microphones, and when the kids come in and you got first place and second place, we introduce your club. So we say, hey, this is Jeff and Luke from Grand Junction, and Grand Junction Mesa just won first place in the U10 girls division, and we do it like a rock and roll introduction. And I still do that to this day. My kids think it's a crack up. They come and volunteer on part of the area. They just go, Dad, you love it, but we just do it, kind of the old "here's Johnny" thing, but we just rock it and the kids enjoy it, and that's my way of giving back. And I just have fun. It's just a good time, and the people see you out in the community, and you're volunteering, and you're not expecting anything out of it. Your love level goes up, that you were talking about, Jim. It just keeps getting bigger.
And you do it anyways.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just have fun. That's my thing. All three of my kids got to be college players, and it's just an interesting scenario to watch and help athletes. I've been the team doctor at Regis University here in Denver for probably about 7 years. And they actually came to me and asked me if I would come help them because some of their athletes were seeing me anyway. And so I'm the team doc. I go down there on Tuesdays, except for coronavirus year. I'm always down there on Tuesdays. I help out Colorado Christian University. You guys are in Grand Junction. I've seen the athletes from Grand Junction and concussion kids when they're in town, seeing other colleges. I treat those kids. So my name's out there for that stuff. So it's fun.
So from your perspective, where do you see the profession heading in the next 20 years?
Man, I think we're in a real dicey area right now. For a lot of the years, like when I first started practice, insurance companies were big on paying for what patients needed. And now it's just getting worse and worse. I think in the long run, we're going to be either more integrated type practices where you're having PTs and Chiros and maybe some MD stuff together. I'm going to see a lot of cash practices taking off where people are going to be like, I'm sick and tired of paying for nothing. I'm going to come to you and feel better anyway. So I see those kind of things happening. And unless our legislatures learn, and see the research about how much better chiropractic is for everybody, and those people, it was a Blue Cross and Blue Shield did that research study years ago that said, hey, they had less hospitalizations, they had less colds and flus, they had less medications. That's where they should start. And until they get that, I think we're all, every doctor is doing the same thing. Medical doctors and us, we're all getting hacked all the time. So it's just how we play the game and how we can keep our overheads low and keep our motivation going. And I think we're just going to make people well and get busier. But it's just going to be an adoption thing for a while, I think.
Well, and I think you said some really important stuff there. And once we realize that health is not somebody else's responsibility, it's ours.
Yeah.
The more that you take charge of your health and invest in your health out of your own pocket, the more that you'll actually stay healthy, and you won't rely on people to keep you healthy. And
exactly.
Chiropractic's been that paradigm since I got involved with it. So getting somebody else to reimburse you for actually practicing chiropractic health has been something I'm like, well, it just makes sense that people pay out of their pocket cash for chiropractic.
Yeah.
It's like, would you expect for your health insurance to pay for your gym membership, or your hiking boots from REI, or eating, organic from Whole Foods? I think they
Yeah.
should,
Yeah.
but they're not going that direction. So,
No.
covering your vitamins, yeah, I think they should. Like, if they're
Yeah.
going to cover, prescriptions, they should cover vitamins.
Hmm.
And then I might become a health insurance consumer.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's a crazy world because people want somebody else to pay for what they want to do. So, as they realize that if they're going to live better, they have to do it themselves,
Yeah,
and they can't rely on somebody else to do it all the time.
and you mentioned, PTs and MDs. Guess
Hmm.
what? Those are the first people to line up and go to the chiropractor because
Hmm.
they understand the benefits of it.
So I have numerous nurses, and I go, so what have you done for your back? Have you done this and this? Have you done injections? And they go, no. So I watch that. I know some of the results those get, and they're like, no. So when you have the nurses that are there as your patients, when you have physical therapists coming in for concussion and other stuff that I treat, and it's like, yeah, not everybody has every answer, but they need to be looking at the chiropractic side for health.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, who have been some of your heroes and inspirations that have helped you get to where you are today?
So from a chiropractic standpoint or a life standpoint, which one are
Both.
you asking about? Both.
Both.
So I'll tell you what, Larry Barish was my inspiration to get into this. That's what got me going. And he had a very busy practice, so I never thought a small practice was the way to go. I was just exposed to that. Another gentleman who was one of my heroes is Dr. John Sunderledge. He's passed away. John was a board member, alumni board member at Logan. He taught their acupuncture program. I took all his stuff and traveled and learned and stayed at his practice and learned. And that's probably 45% of my practice that I get from people. My farthest patient east is Italy, west is Japan, and all sorts of stuff in between. And the acupuncture and the chiropractic stuff we do has brought people in from that far away. So I got people that, you guys are in Grand Junction. I got people in Nebraska that go 5 hours each direction to get some of the acupuncture stuff we do to get their kid healthy. So, those are my heroes. Those two guys taught me how to think about patients, treat patients, make patients better, right? So other heroes outside of that, I'm a big history buff. I'm a big Patton fan. Go movie with Patton and George C. Scott. I'm a
I
big
love
Patton.
that.
I'm a big Patton guy. And so besides, guys like Patton, I had an uncle that he was in the Battle of the Bulge that Patton came and rescued. He had shell shock from his tank getting blown up, and he talked about Patton all the time. So that's one of those things I kind of zeroed in on is how he was deliberate in his thoughts. He thought stuff out and then he moved. He didn't sit around and procrastinate and overthink things too much. He was the goer and doer of the world. And so for some reason, I've always stuck with Patton. My dad was a hero for me. I didn't understand that at the time. And so that's one of those things where he was always my buddy and my hero. But then after he was gone, then you go, wow, I wish I had that time. So look at those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, why don't you tell us a couple of miracle stories that you've seen happen in your office?
A couple of miracles. Like I said, I do a lot of the chiropractic side and the concussion side. We have a patient of ours who she came in with 23 concussions from all the sports and stuff. She came in. Her parents brought her in. She was moody. She was dark, like just sunk in and dark, in her eyes and stuff. Always depressed, always the blues. And so we're adjusting her and doing cranial therapy with her. And she's awesome. She's does some marketing for some companies. She comes in. Her sister comes with her. They're in their early 20s, and her life's back. Her mom cries, and she says her life is back. She says, my daughter's back. She's not crying. And you had one of your podcasts a while back was the doctor gentleman out of California who does the balloon up the nose. I do one that's from a guy named Roger Turner and CATS cranial therapy, and he literally saved my son through cranials. And I never believed in the cranial thing until he saved my son. And then I've been doing it for eight or 9 years now, and it's a huge part of my practice. So that's one of my miracle stories. I said I do a lot of long-term illness. So we have a MS patient who came in. literally comes in her walker, comes in with her sister. She's like 30. And so we're like, we're going to adjust you a little bit. We're going to start doing some acupuncture. And a couple of days later, I'm treating somebody and I see her go by and, how you kind of go. And I'm like, what the hell? And then she was on a cane. And I'm like, where's the walker? She goes, oh, my legs woke up a ton after you worked on that first visit. So she has sent me a lot of MS patients. So those are the kind of miracles that you enjoy adjusting somebody, you enjoy helping people feel better, but it's really a kick when it's life-changing for the patient. Things of that nature.
And that's changing a life. And that's
Yeah.
really what chiropractic to me, when I devoted like my interest to working in a profession that I wasn't a practitioner of, I was like, I think because I was doing patient testimonial work.
Yeah.
And I was listening to this lady tell me about how she broke down in tears on this interview I was doing with her. And she told me how she was having migraines and how she had to lock herself up in like a dark room and hide from the world. But she started seeing a chiropractor and they got the curve of her neck back and how it restored her life. And she didn't think she'd ever be a mom and ever have kids. And now she has, she had a little boy and she wasn't having migraines and she had a functional life again. And that's the part where I was like, chiropractic is much bigger than a profession. It's much bigger than the adjustment. It's what happens to a household, what happens to an individual's life, what happens to the visceral effect that you get from telling those miracle stories. And somebody's going to watch this, and then that's going to influence them to come in to see the chiropractor because they're going to be like, wow, I didn't know that it wasn't just about neck pain and back pain.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you something else. After you said the migraine patient stuff, Jim, I have a patient of mine. She came in, and this is one of those things where chiropractic helped her with her migraines to calm them down, but she always had them her entire life. And she literally came in, and I go, hey, I just learned this new technique, and it was the cranial stuff. And so I'm like, let's try this. So about 4 visits in, she walked in, and I literally looked at her, and I go, your eyes are blue. And she goes, they've always been blue. But what I realized was every time she saw me is when they're photophobic, like you're saying, turn the lights off, get in a dark room, she'd come in with her eyes all squinted, just barely looking through her eyelashes so I could get rid of her headache. And finally, we started doing cranial stuff. All of a sudden, her eyes opened up. I had no idea after all those years that her eyes were blue because the only time I ever saw her was when she had a migraine. So she doesn't get them anymore. So it's really fun, those things. I have a patient of mine, $1,000 a month was her part of the copay for her migraine medication. $1,000 a month. So she was working her tail off to pay for her migraine medication, chiropractic, cranials. Saves that's what 12 grand a year she saves, coming out of her pocket. So those are the things that are fun to think about and fun to do. And with my acupuncture side, there's all sorts of fun stories, but that's just what makes me keep going, so.
It's great stuff. So why don't we wrap up this interview with you sharing some resources that people can go visit if they want to learn more about you and what you're doing?
So one of the resources would be, if you're an Instagram kind of person, I guess, right? It would be Lifetime Health Westminster. And then we have a Facebook page for Lifetime Health and Wellness as well. And then our website is lthaw.com for Lifetime Health and Wellness.com. It's lthaw.com. And that's where they can learn more about me. There's a bunch of soccer stuff on my website as well. I think Jim and I talked about, one of my projects, we've got turf fields and lights. It was a $2 million project that I helped orchestrate and run with my board, and we did a great job. The board got it together. So I have patience, and then I have fun stuff on the side where you like to build and create and just something different from my office so I don't get burned out in one area. So those are my areas. And so other resources, to tell you the truth, if you're a business owner or even just a regular person now, I give this out. So Luke, when you were talking about what kind of stuff you do to keep in front of the public, I order books every year. So I have a stack of Jim knows this one. I have a stack of The Compound Effect. I mean, we're talking, I order from Amazon, and every kid that's graduating high school, graduating college gets a handwritten book. I handwrite something about them, and they give it to them. And then, we keep track of who our kids are, and they get that for graduation. That's their thing. So I always tell people, look at the Compound Effect from Darren Hardy. Great book for any business person in just your life. Phenomenal book. And from a business side standpoint, I also like The Slight Edge by Olson. Great book. It helped me a ton in my practice. And Jim was at my class. I told him page 9 changed my life. It's just a bar graph, right? But it was one of those things at 9 o'clock at night you read it and you go, oh. And it wasn't like, oh, it's like, oh, and smack yourself in the face of the book. This is what I've been doing. Page 9, one of those kind of cool things. So, and Clockwork, those are all great books from a business standpoint, life standpoint, to help yourself out. So be inspired by others. Watch your YouTube videos of like the what do they call, why, begin with why kind of stuff from Simon Sinek. Just get involved with learning and not just Netflix or TV at the end of the night. Find a YouTube channel of a financial guy or something that inspires you, and watch it and learn in the evenings. Don't just let your evening go by, but learn something.
Well, Dr. Randy, thank you very much for being our guest today. This was a pretty insightful episode, and I know we both had a lot of fun talking to you today.
There you go, man. So you guys are awesome. Keep up your work and stuff as well, and then keeping our profession going and people learning. Actually, one of my heroes, John T. Martini. You guys had John on way back when, but one of my heroes. And one time you asked, if you had 10 or 15 minutes to spend with somebody. I've had dinner with John numerous times, and he's just one of my heroes. Just a great dude. And when he was teaching in Denver, I take him out for dinner, and we go somewhere and just a class act. And it was interesting. I'll tell you real quick. John came into town, and we're having food or whatever it was, and he hadn't seen his kids for a while. He'd been traveling, and I go, hey, you want to have some food? So we ordered Chinese, came home, and my middle son, who is now taking all the courses to be like the next Simon Sinek, and we start with why, met John and still remembers him to this day. And he was like 6 or 7. And he remembers John talking to him. He's like, yeah, the guy with the hair thing. And he was really cool. And I go, yeah, he'll never say that about dad and the hair thing, but the guy with the hair thing, he has it. So, so I appreciate your guys' time and having other heroes on here as well.
Well, Dr. Randy, it's a pleasure to have you onto our platform and to feature you as the 268th episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast, number 1 podcast in the world in chiropractic. And we do spread the word of chiropractic. We do protect free speech in this beautiful profession, and it's our job to protect the sacred trust with our journalistic approach. So this was a wonderful episode. And whenever John does come back to town, shoot me a text. I'd love to come out to dinner with you guys.
Yeah, figure it out. All right, guys.
All right, Randy, we want you to have a great rest of your day and keep saving lives.
Thanks, sir. We appreciate it.
Talk soon.
We'll see you.
Thanks, Dan.